You are taking in and exposing yourself to as much English as possible. But once it's inside your head, it doesn't come out. So you can understand English perfectly well, but when it comes to speaking, it's quite challenging, right? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to share with you reasons why you can understand English perfectly well, but then find it difficult or challenging when it comes to speaking, and give you some of the solutions that you can use to solve that problem so you can speak English much frequently and easily without challenges. But I'm afraid you are gonna have to watch this video till the end so you can get every detail. I'm Jay and welcome to Speak English with Jay. So I researched on this topic, and the hashtag #1 reason why you cannot speak English while you can understand it is lack of practice. You are taking in and exposing yourself to as much English as possible, but once it's inside your head, it doesn't come out. It's stored. You learn new words, you learn new vocabulary, but you do not put them into practice. You do not use them in your daily conversations. You do not speak English whatsoever. You're just exposed to it. You don't put it into practice. Let me explain this in a much simpler language. So let's say you read a theory on how to ride a bicycle, right? In reality, you've never really touched a bicycle. Yes, you have the information on how to ride the bicycle, the theory side of it, but you haven't yet put the theory or the information you have into practice. Do you think you're going to be able to ride a bicycle the first time you do it based on the theory you learned? Not really. I don't think so, do you? That is the same situation as to why you can understand perfectly well but cannot speak English. You have the theory, but you don't do the practicals. And this is actually common in non-speaking countries whereby English is just taught for academic purposes. Like in my country, everything in school is taught in English. Once the classes are done, that's it. We're done with English. We go back to our daily routine of speaking our national language, which is Swahili. That's why you find that most students can perfectly understand English, but when it comes to speaking, they find it a little bit difficult. The problem is we are taking in information, but we're not taking out the information. Here's some practices that you can use to help you start speaking out and start using the information that you're taking in. #1, spend as much time to speak English as you listen to English. You'll find that most of the time, you listen to a lot of English. You watch English movies, you listen to English music, you listen to podcasts and all of that. But you do not take the same amount of time to speak it. What I want you to do is use the exact amount of time that you use to listen to English to speak in English. For example, you take 20 minutes to watch a YouTube video just like this one, or just watch a movie or a documentary, or listen to a podcast, a 20-minute podcast, okay? Use the same 20 minutes to give out your reviews on what you watch, on what you listen to. For example, you finished watching this video. I want you to take the exact amount of time to review on what you learned on this video. You can do that by leaving a comment down below or talking it out with your friend. Yesterday I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about brain health, and I actually was mind blown on how many things we consume that is actually damaging our brains. So that is an example of how you can share what you learned with a friend. I know now you're curious to know more about what I learned yesterday, right? The second way you can do it is using the new words or new vocabulary that you learned immediately in a conversation. Immediately can mean you learned it in the morning, you use it during your day, or you find time to use it at night or the following day. You just put it to use almost immediately after you learn it. Let's say you're watching a video on lab experiment and the text said, minute organisms cannot be seen by the naked human eye. The new word you learned is minute. Minute means very small. How can you use that word minute in your daily activities? So you can use it in the kitchen. You can be surprised of how minute the sugar particles The second reason why you can understand English perfectly well but cannot speak it is you are afraid of making mistakes. And I completely understand. You're afraid you are gonna stumble. You're afraid you're gonna speak in pauses, and you are afraid that you're not gonna sound like a native speaker, or your English is not gonna sound that good. And I understand because I have been there. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So let me just share a little bit of my story. So when I was in high school, I could understand, write, and read English perfectly well. I really wanted to speak it, but I was afraid. I was afraid to speak because I knew I was gonna make mistakes and fumble with my English and say the wrong words, and I was gonna get laughed at, and it was gonna be embarrassing. So I didn't really make any efforts in speaking my first 2 years of high school. Even though I could understand English perfectly well, I was still not able to speak it because I was not practicing. But when I finally learned that we're all human and it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to learn from your mistakes, that is when I made the effort to start speaking to other students. And I actually found out that some of the students were also interested in speaking. They were also afraid of the same thing, that they were gonna get laughed at. And I was like, what? I thought I was gonna get laughed at. You thought you were gonna get laughed at? So sometimes we limit ourselves because of what we think, which might not even be true. So don't limit yourself. Don't be scared of making mistakes. We learn from mistakes, and look at me. I've made my mistakes while speaking. I still make mistakes while speaking, but I learn from them and I grow from them. Some of you are afraid of speaking because of your accent. Embrace your accent. Embrace your native accents. Don't be scared of speaking because of your accent. The more you expose yourself to English and the more you practice, the faster you'll learn how to speak fluently without an accent. That reason why you can understand English perfectly well but cannot speak it is because of your belief. What do you believe? I'm going to divide belief into two different categories. The first belief that you might have is that because you can understand English perfectly well, you are so certain that you can speak it. Because you can listen to it perfectly well, you are certain that you can speak it perfectly well. So you don't make any efforts whatsoever because at the back of your mind, you know, oh, I can understand English perfectly well. Why can't I speak it? I don't need to speak it all the time because I can understand it. Well, that is not a good belief. Your listening skills are very much different from your speaking skills. So stop believing that because you can understand, you can speak it without practicing. The second belief that you might have is that you can understand it perfectly well, but you cannot speak it. So you believe that you can understand it and you cannot speak it. So you're just comfortable with understanding English but not being able to speak it. I can understand it. I don't really need to speak it, do I? Well, you do. This might be as a result of trying to speak it a few times and finding it a little bit challenging. So you're just comfortable being able to understand it but not speak it. It matters that you speak it as much as you understand it. The only belief that I want you to have about English is believe in yourself. Believe that you can understand English perfectly well and you can speak it as well. And do the necessary work that will enable you to expound on your listening skill as well as your speaking skills. Without being the last reason why you can understand English but cannot speak it, I'd like to give you a couple of bonus tips. The first bonus is, in order to learn English, you have to put yourself in the psychological state of a kid or of a child. What I mean is that have the eagerness to learn. So to a child, everything around them is always new and they're always eager to explore and learn what that thing is about. That is how I want you to be with English. Be eager to learn about the tips that you need, the tactics that you need to apply to be fluent in speaking, fluent in listening. Have that eagerness to learn. You can do this by asking questions, researching, watching videos related to English, just like this video. You have to be eager to learn. Next bonus tip I have is implement what you learn. Like creating time to express yourself in English, express what you're feeling, express what you did, express your emotions in English. That marks the end of our videos, but before I end the video, I have some homework for you and you have to do it, because if you don't do it, then what is the whole point? watching the video. You have to implement what you like. I want you to create time at the end of today and record yourself talking about how your day was in English. And while doing that, I want you to put the following in mind. What is it that you did today? Why did you do what you did today? Where did you do it? When did you do it? And who did you do it with? Let me know if you did the homework in the comments below. I am curious to know what you guys did today. And as I always say, if you are a learner who is interested to improving your English fluency and would like to get more tips on how to do that, then I highly recommend that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my English videos. And by the way, comment down below if you subscribe so I know that you did subscribe to the channel. That was the lesson today, and let's meet in my next video. Bye.